who had received the 5 talents went once and traded with them. He who made 5 talents and he made 5 talents more. Sorry. So also he who had 2 talents made 2 talents more. But he who had received 1 talent went and dug into the ground and hid for his master. So I think it's a very financial one-on-one discussion we Bible more oftentimes. So pretty much a wealthy person, money per be certain talent. And a talent, or invested that talent, am I the boy? On 100% for 10. I know being so there, I think that this person is most Ghanaian people. Maybe are not so risk in tea. Or is it kind of a could see from and when you any interest be our home. And or the bread master. No. And as we all know the story, they say actually the master was very mad with that person and said, I didn't go and put up his car today, bank, no one interest of home. And I feel so most Ghanaian people will fall victim to this person. Say, in your car, either say BD and I say, yes, we get to be invested. Now, ABI is so risky, now you are putting it elsewhere. So, this is what I want to focus on now as a discussion for today, using Bible testing to show this illustration. No? Now, before then, no, if I said, I recommended these 2 books in case ABI and a discussion. No? These are 2 books I'm reading. Yeah, it's been real school. No? The first one will say Get a Financial Life, Personal Finance in Your 20s and 30s. The second one here, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I think the books are really seeing who I'm telling myself and see. So I want to hear grandpa, Mr. If you can leave here and go get these books, I think say it me wow going forward. So I want to give maybe 2 different scenarios. Discussion I see here, I think it's very important. Need to how money works in this country, right? So more 2 examples about 2 people. First one here, person A. Second one here, person B. Now, person A, no, A will be a school. No, let's say, medicine, or a doctor, or a nurse, or an engineer. And we are school will make it $1,000 a year as his actual base salary. And our guy in also over time for more money. Into over time, over the year no be into year no soon over time no will make additional $50,000 in overtime money. So that means sending yearly income now 180. Example can make it, so please bear with me here. So because an income now fall in roughly 32% tax bracket. So the way tax bracket is say it's a different topic, but I will not talk about today because if you make a certain amount of money or a certain tax bracket by the end of the year. So let's assume that this person is a 32% tax bracket. That means roughly because what's this tax bracket you over time you pay roughly 16%, you pay roughly $16,000 in taxes on that over time which is $50,000 now. And that's only on federal taxes. So you have state income, you have other taxes income. Let's just focus on this one only. So that's one example. Second example, see a person B. Person B in school also the same thing, and making the same amount of money, $130,000. But difference to make it say, also not there on over time to make more money. But obey investor, obey investors can be unless the stock market or different sort of investment vehicle. Because of full setting a bit more which will make money as well. In terms of investing some money in a certain amount of period, and also making the same $50,000, in what in profit from investment, making 50K, and a total income say 180K. But difference they say because person B invest sika or make that much money, the taxes are very different. So person B, because we invested in the stock market, and fancy the whole investment for over a year, will pay only 15% in taxes, right? On its gains from a federal level. Because one more difference there. This person B pay only 15% in taxes on the gains from a and because we investment into on chia a social security, on chia Medicaid, BRS and BR, on chia about that. So you only pay taxes on the federal government and the state government. But person A, you have more taxes, and I also sell taxes too on the Social Security and Medicaid, etc. So I want to start with 2 examples and say, I think so many of us fall victims to this because Chrome I say no. Chrome how rewards you based on Obia or your investor, and you'll be your 9 to 5 worker. And most of our people, no, we trade time for money. Now trade time for money is what government will tax you more. But if you switch and make your money from investment, government will tax you less. That's why Trump, that's why smart and I didn't tell you, this is all legal way. Because if you make money from investment, the government give you more tax breaks as opposed to say we're making money from regular 9 to 5 work now, So I want to pause here, making sure say at least scenario making it makes sense. We all understand before I move to core representation. In United I say yeah. So any initial questions on the scenario? No.
No, the question is me TSN outcome and not just investment, a boy me anymore. At the same time, so a sign reduce taxes. Eventually, any no more.
Yeah.
It's not investment in a year.
Exactly. It's a little point of some driver who say, as ABI, people are working, we should think through about saying, it's kind of, here I am more of 2 times. Or you about ways to, use career want to be a be invested. Next my year, because about you government will keep taxing us, not yes, your body not here wasting the society. That's what I want to share to make sure say United access also. So I want to move on to the next slide, and about this also second example. I think that coronavirus you buy any on this line, a bind of money stimulus check. Will be near Japan say about free money into your home. But I want to also show it be a stimulus a bunch of businesses. And so just for comparison's sake, so a small business the government gave you 2 options of ways to make money while you're affected by COVID. So if I say a small business, if I say my entire will be okay, that's my business plan. Because it be a COVID I impacted me to know. Government created 2 loan options. First one, a PPP loan, SABI amount loan to cover a sika or lose from your payroll expenses, not government child. Second one, so it's called SBA EIDL loan. Essentially a loan a buying businesses let me get back on their feet. But the interesting part is say you only pay 3.75% interest or so over 30 years, right? So that's the second example. But the interesting is on that we share loan or stimulus government if the people know it's only 1,200 per, but when you just when you scale very big. But to show be a small business, government gave them up to what 10 million based on the company size, most of it, can be forgivable. Essentially, it's free money they can use to invest in their business, right? And the main point I show those 2 examples and say, I think it's a very important test as a team. A reward will be a business and also your investor, and you will be a 9 to 5 worker. And to say about come say no, you find someone dream say, oh, make sure say whatever job you're doing you are investing some of it or you open your own business. And yes, you're gonna keep working for this country, and then it's kind of making now the amount will be an idea. So I want to make sure that this foundation is very critical senior because once someone dream about how you think about money, you always think say you're gonna work extra hours at this and that's kind of so that's why I want to make sure that fundamental basics before we get into the core of the discussion. Again, I want to pause and see if there are any initial questions, comments, contribution before I get to the main content.
Hello.
Patrick here.
The question that can be Bitcoin.
Hey, Bitcoin, what do too much?
Okay. So the young boy no much.
But Bitcoin, I think it's too advanced into young quiet. But I like that
outside.
Yeah, I like so about Bitcoin. That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So if there aren't any questions, today I want to focus on more on investment 101, very basic. Now, we say about this end, if you say you understand like what's the stock market, how the stock market works, so then you have a very basic understanding of it. So pretty much, that's an investment. It pretty much means say, auto idea, our genesis idea in the future now, value ever also down the road, right? So you fancy my top dime and then $100,000. We used to be the next 10 years no, a dime bear value is what? With 1 million. Me buying that house no as an investment. And investment, the key thing is that you are focused on wealth accumulation. All because difference between being wealthy and being rich. People will confuse those two things together. Who being wealthy is who is scar, it can definitely take care of you without you working or without you doing something different. By you being rich, they say they $1 million with normal. Now you feel very rich, but really what also this scar. So make sure so those two things, mean to me actually yes, sir. And investment, the whole key is a long-term idea. And your idea, yes, be a 6 months time when you start. It's not a quick money scheme. A idea, a long-term. So I think it's a very important thing that you say investment. Any idea, quick money. An idea, a long-term impact on our whole. So maybe I'll say what are some types of investments. So the two main types I think are very popular here: real estate, and I say be our stocks, and I say bonds, and I say be our business. Those are all types of investments. But and then I'll focus more on stock because that's what I'm more familiar with. I'm a Kahwasan, Natasha. Into your case of stocks I think it's very basically a stock, let's say it be a company, be a company public, not we owner of that company. So, for example, a company will say be a McDonald's. If this McDonald's is a good company, that should be on value because I can buy a share of McDonald's and I'm only part of McDonald's. But this is most of the time it is I say be some big money be and sign our share this asset. But you can even buy stocks for as low as $1. You don't have a lot of money to get into the stock market. You can get into it with just $1 per. That's what pretty much it means. And auto stock now, because we are a shareholder and I say be a company who will stake community stock companies be something called dividends. So the ways to make money in stock are two ways. One way is dividends. I say company if I say every year be a making scar. No, see because I make it scar on better can be each and every single shareholder. And your friends say dividends. So, for example, if I see my investor with Apple, right now Apple each 1% dividends for every single shareholder. So every quarter because I'm here Apple investing, if you may invest if I say $1,000 of what Apple I'm say if you have say $1 because I'm here dividends. We are shareholders, I'm gonna score more. But every stock be our amount of money which you amount as a shareholder. Some is as high as 8%, even see as low as 1%. And that's one way a company everything you our as a shareholder. Second option you see a stock appreciation. It is auto stock be a value and that's a price award. So for example, Apple is roughly worth about $191 if you as of your fancy and that. Say or now used to be Apple because Apple it might cost 200. The Okoso 200 amount of shares I will any scar will make it. Into auto company you're something called a share. A share can be 1 and a share about how many scar and that's how much value was our company. Those are two ways that with me I'm making I guess some money in the stock market through dividends and asset through say be a company increase in value. So I think that the way market today, man, say, I could say, I see our not obiton in toast. Not in toast because the value, also no form, ABLB price, not obi swato. So stock market, I always say, I got a KT item. And will be a 20 different items of obiton toast, obiton weight. And at Okoha, it will be an auto idea, it will be an auto idea. Into stock market, it's young fancy and Ubia opposite Oko market war. Now, person toast. Now, in toast for no more. We send toast, the boy them pa. Ometema in toast bono akosro. I say be a to toast bako $2. Insano ebano and pay bromo market for no. And so much higher price for signing toast because of value because of internet. By fancy be in toast. I say a boo will be not in toast and wire for price 18 back from it's not in toast a wire for. That's pretty much what the stock market is. Companies will be in a ton or more every shares for me to people based on the value it is. So if I say there, begins Apple, a good company, will be our iPhone T. Let me buy it at Internet Apple, the most world valuable company because they pay free, I respect Apple. Until you Apple personal, a better, a also. Internet, that's what it is. So if you are not to say, okay, where can I buy a stock market at? As where can I buy there in technology? Once again, the open tools at work in key tier. Buy a hands up stock at. There's something called the New York Stock Exchange. Honor, I think a trading between companies in the episode to be as episode to one. Honor need that happen from that angle, no. And even Ghana Crampo, why stock exchange or what people so to use. I believe said 2 years ago, Ghana stock market, was the biggest one in the entire world in 2019, 2018 or so. So I won't say area, I can also invest in it. So I also want to win or what. Now, one thing I also make sure say, I mean, with every investment, there are risks involved, right? So, for example, company now, if you invest in, if it's now bankrupt, we scout, we invest in a share. For example, same year, Kaya, if in the back in 2000s, there's a company named Kodak. Not Kodak, we have camera phone. No BNE Jahon, so we have Kodak phone. We can company be a button. If you try not print them out right away. Then you Kodak. Kodak does not exist anymore because smartphones, I take you over. So purchase the So a very critical set. We invest in stock market now. The company only said that actually be or affable. Sebe any hobium because that's how you lose your money because company bankrupt there. It's going a very share. And the last sort of benefit I'm saying about stock market and say so we invest to umikiska. There are more tax benefits from. If you ever see on top stock, I'm holding more than a year. Government will only allow me to pay about 20% maximum in taxes, or even 15% of it, right? And I'm selling this go so making a come taxes not making a scab back from the government because of my investing scam too. So that's also one example in it. But one thing I want to make sure is there will be a chance and say, so company or man go bankruptcy, there's 0% chance. I say. Which can because zero. SMS be a top company for be $1,000. That company is still active. Cementon company shares one may lose sales cano. And I think again for every I'm doing say BL and co investors of market room because what is this that's not always true. It's just saying you picture of understand how my market works now. And from there, we can know which companies to buy and which companies we should not buy. I know so I've talked for a lot. Before we get to the next content, I want to pause here and see, if there are any questions, contributions, or maybe things folks want to ask before let's Wasso.
Okay, and you talk about dividends and stock. Can a church, I say, as a church, only means of getting income here, tithe and offering, harvest, and those things,
Yeah.
Is it advisable, say, so you better investment as a church? Maybe you better a bond be an asset stock be. Now appreciate your money in a long term for young colano.
Yeah.
In future, one more bit me up draw says canoa a beboy, and now say even. Yes, so my next question follow up on this. How long, averagely, and auto dividend, auto bond, na stock no one. Bit me a best out of it. A be an church, a be I see a percent 5 years you invested. Is that enough to get something good out of it?
That's a very good question, Pa. So I believe it's a conference, will be some guidelines about maybe what churches can invest in. So I think I can't speak too much about it, but people can say actually conference, Taita and Escomogen, they actually invest in the stock market. I think the last year or so, I was looking at the financial statement, and we invested in the stock market because how they make their money increase, because Kamuji, want to fund for what? Yes, ideas can be value. So they also invest some aspect of money, in the stock market. I think the one thing I was saying is that, as a church, we should think through about kind of how we can help the next generation. Because say invest in stock market to me be a young for so which is can be your money be a scholarship for them to go to school, etc. So I would say if in Pennyphone one, we should definitely consider it and think about how we can also invest for the church in the long term. Because, for example, if I say be a woman that is net to change bank, not a 0.5% interest. Over 5 years of stock market, I'm sure, say, given the market conditions, we can get at least 20%, 30%, or even dividends. Between every quarter year, can be a free one. Yana is for you says, Caforno, if I say be a or Pua, scanner on the atoman, and we invest it in stocks at each dividends. Every quarter biano. Na company no HSK ema ne mano nti omuni sika na panel edema omuno but omudi faso na omunye free ho no nti omonton stocks ne da ona ma omasa up to today ina ya June for no omuya na I think say omuni mano etimi yeska no ese sika na omase wenwie omuni but faso no nko na omode so I would say I think say a bad idea as a church. We should consider something like that. As long as you're aware of the risk and able to manage it effectively, I think that beating up and in terms of timeline, usually the advice said if you invest that, partial teams say be at least 5 years is your time horizon. But you can make a lot of money in a matter of months. You can make a lot of money in a lot of years. Doing the where investment goes, 80 of year. But the 5 years any time horizon, I think that a very good idea is that it can balance the risk involved and also balance if you are returns and so with me I'm making as well.
Okay, my follow-up question is Ramo Mufanchemi. Church no na me focus is I'm losing my thought. Let me put it together. 80 church say you invest bibisa say your companies are Ube to me, ube to me, I can say I'm not going to these big companies. They say food companies, normally idea, dividend, and our stock appreciation and so, but consistent.
Exactly.
Ube to me, and bibisa, we can be sure, say, ebema yesika, instead say, yedi yesika na to bank. Na yesika no, I appreciate small cry interest, cry business,
Yeah.
Me and your company bisa na to say be I invite or board say come and give us a talk as over.
I can decline, but I can definitely come and talk about it.
Okay. Thank you. Go ahead.
Okay. I think it's Auntie Olivia Pianis, Miss All Questioner. Okay, got you. But any other question before I to ask Nana? Okay, so questions get who we want. But you to also not ABI about different ways to invest in the stock market. So I think that investing in stocks, I think it's very critical to all these 3 or 4 terms now say. So you were single stocks, right? Which is be at one company now invest to them. And if you invest in Amazon, Facebook, Walmart, Apple, those are single stocks that out one company when invested. And I was something called indexes. And then the pay baby over TV so and I say news so. We have here I say be a S&P 500 and I say be a Dow Jones Industrial and that's a Nasdaq. So what indexes are, say, is a lot of stocks, single stocks, and their boom air back, and I track it how effective marketing is here. So, for example, if you have S&P 500, it means the top 500 companies in the US, and I'm stocks in the boom iron back, and you have the S&P 500. So usually, I'm who how the stock market is doing. We use a way to track how effective or how good the market is, reacting. And it's how we be at Dow Jones and so on. You see another index that track it, I think the top 20 or 30 industrial companies for USA and so come. And it's how I did friend NASDAQ. And also tracking most of the technology companies now or USA and so come. So those 3 indexes, I think that Unima is good because any match or say be a market, a koye and I am koye in a into the next 2 years, because we invest in one single stock, very risky because in company, outcome into or more creative ABR, I do a friend of ETF, exchange traded funds. A far ABR company be almost 1,000, maybe now boom back up. ABR almost say any less riskier because ABR we invest in so many companies into you must be back for more. I don't want to know that. So let me about I'm managing more risk. In TB and be a SPY and you ETF tracking S&P So most of the time, I'm going to say we are new to investment as new stocks are a good sell be invested in what indexes as ETFs and as mutual funds are a year company will be on their tobacco because what the risk are much less and our returns and so are moderate enough for you to go off by. In Tennessee idea, I think it's a very important say we a new investor, don't just go straight to investing in maybe a company back up, but try to say be invested in these ETFs. It's a combination of 1,000 companies together, and I have a compare which me use to let me about managing more risk and so I can. And I think the last one say mutual funds. I'm sure say be what I say say your retirement fund. Most of the money is probably in these mutual funds because they're less riskier and it's good for very long-term investments. I did a 20 years time one. Now we're scaling them now at least appreciating in value and so I can. So I want to give a quick example. Maybe when it comes about buying stocks, maybe I in actually say at least I need to maybe a lecture for you to understand. In Japan, say be 2014, and I met my real school, and I met S&P 500 and I'm seeing $1,000 expect into metal stock market maybe in 2014. Now at that time, in 2014, NASA S&P 500 stock market it was only worth 182 per share. That means that at that time, the value of any 182 per share. It's because they made talk only 1,000 shares. The math here said where $1,000 divided by the current price, which is what 182. That means I only have 5.3 shares of our company. The attorney said, who is what? No matter value of the company, we divide it. We divide the difference and the shares. So in this example, Metoya, I'll have 5.3 shares. And I'm a fast forward about May 22, 2020, that's the last year, around Corona time. And I'm saying, I'm share now, 2014. I'm checking at that time, the price of South stock Metoya, I would do say 295, right? So because I'm more 5.3 shares of Munito, I multiply 5.3 by the current stock in the price, which is what 295. So me roughly 1,560. So pretty much within the last 6 years, since we invested 2014 and 2020, my roughly $560. But me putting my money in the stock market, that's roughly about 56% return on my investments. Now, interested in this, and yeah, if I go on Google, now the typo SPY stock market price here say 417. So if I do the same math, I said 417 times 5.3, so that's kind of invested 2014 and manya 2,211, which pretty much means it's kind of a double in about 8 or 6 or so years without me doing anything. So imagine say at that time I more $100,000 that I'm going to invest in one. I can just a double in the same time. But most of our people, if it's a bank, our bank is kind of on my share emphasis. But you can invest in these vehicles and create now boy now is Canada so so it's one example I represent me and so so I want to pose you to be any questions on the example I'm making say if it doesn't make sense or a question about it, I'll quickly answer for you as well. The mechanics do the one chassis, so I can repeat again in a different way. So make sure say we are to my chassis now when you're home as well.
Aside the risk, a woman, so invest wisely. Not just a meme at was yes. To say, we are koda, afina, wabono life. Now, we see me quite an hour, afina, fear butcher, a gun abba, so better. We do your house and person see me dying. Then you start investing in the building, no, is see one. No.
Exactly.
So if you can invest in, so would invest a good more a bedroom holo, which me sit down crab you know.
Exactly. I think most of people know. And which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think that the other investments have been free home in the medium term, no, I wish me a more. The answer will be try different things, but I was for investment, you know. I reach me a ball in different ways so I can. But I
think to me the 10,000. I can give me a idea. So can invest 10,000 or so. We invest 10,000.
Okay. Jeff said 10,000. And I'm here and 1, 2, 3. And I price in 2014. Now a 182. So me divided by 182. That means more 54 shares. No. In TNA, me her price, price of that company, 417. So no, my 54 times 417. That means it's 22,532. That's ABS car. Menya also minus the initial 10,000, which is roughly 12,000. And if I saw Menya. It was investment, so say 10,000 only 2 more. So that's the calculation for 10,000.
Wow.
Yeah. And I want to show this chart because I think so often we so say the market we invest more in Suska. But let me actually show this better chart because in a more. In the stock market, where stock attracted the entire stock market to since its inception. In maybe 19 for something, no. From 1983, so her chart here, on that stock, $44. Over a long term, a cost on say a bus number from but we a long term investor, it will always go up because America it says companies always make money. So we pay because they be because they be a short term investors, but we a long term investor. A idea with me about. So, for example, last year, coronavirus, if we look at this chart over 5 years, on set around February of last year, then at $300 per share. But coronavirus, about phone call say almost 222. But we have panicking, which is a bad mistake. But if the coronavirus, like auto beer, now $250 or $220 around March of last year. And I'll keep you up to today. And because can a double over last year. So the key thing is to say, you buy stocks when people are fearful. So once the could be a panic, say, whatever is happening, that's the best time to buy stocks. But when you hear the parents say, in the long term, no, things always go up. And I always advise them when you wanted to, or Accra right now, or if you're 5 years old, if you're 2 years old, Whiskano, or part which I expect, and start buying some for them today. By the time we'll be 18, now Accra or schedule the heart, don't worry about it. Until we say, well, I say, most champion, the crown part. Yeah, I think some to me say, in the long run, no, stock market, no, air cost. Until Accra right now, Tiska Accra to Chamano. Na efa ebuano stima check will be a name so in fact could this stima check no fa ebi tu and Accra no never invested because in the long run no the year crown. So I have 1,000 will be I say no. In next 18 years no, it can turn into $10,000. One year share. So I want to end here and see if there are any sort of questions, comments, or contribution. And sign the vampire na the BBA.
Na Ghana stock market no. And not deal with Ghana city.
Yeah, Pachawan. Yeah, it do with Ghana cities. I mean, I wouldn't even recommend to bring buy stocks in Ghana. At least I don't think they're a mature market yet. Yeah. But their example, I'm going to share.
Okay.
And I know, so maybe Kofi, I know, so you also pay attention to the stock market. I'm not sure if you have any additional advice or contribution at Opposite Oman. So I think it's a little bit more. Kofi, wow. But you'll be a winning.
I think you said it. Mr. Amansia.
Oh, I think so. This is
okay, but you're with me, Abusa.
Now, the question is say, I'm just a download the cash app. Of course, you are stocks in this time money give. It's a honor. So we be a genuine.
Yeah, very good question. And Pachawan, yeah. So cash app and so and my options set with me at Toby. And also a very a genuine Pachawan, authentic.
Now, before I tell Mr. Let me question me Busa now. How do I answer stock?
Me Pachawan Busa.
Let me Busa about Bitcoin. No, let me Busa say. How is the tax? No, tax and the Senate is a beer or join the company be not daily basis and not weekly. It can be back or cash up and after account man. At the end of the year, how are you going to file tax?
Yeah, a good question. So usually, so we invested in Bitcoin. As a company, you invest in a form. I will show Sika making from it, and I look out where you want to taxes for or the Tiano. But still, Sika, I think that sounds like is a middle person who use how they invested. Our caution said because Bitcoin unit, you pay bro half of who ABM kiss from people. SABO first coming, and I invested for you, and I'll make you some money. But the idea you cannot buy yourself without that middle person. But I think that's to your question. The company should give you a form. I bet you how much money you've made in that year. And from there, you pay taxes on that money now. And we'll make it. Because I'm sure say, oh, sign up. They ask you for your social security number, and that's how the IRS will know. Say, Pamakiska, every that company in China.
Okay, well, my second one. Yes, I said, me talk Bitcoin through a company. I was a company, no money. Form, I made media register. Nasabia, me Toby, daily and weekly basis, Kaba. This is kind of open transfer account to my account or bank, say, and here now she can be free. Now, if you don't want to sell the record to account to maybe other, is that illegal or? I just want to be clear, yeah, because I just want to be clear. Say, me you through cash up. You can't buy that cash up. Me when it's a Bitcoin labor for my namato. But if I'm trying to transfer, if I'm trying to transfer to the bank will be like, oh, why do you have maybe $100 or $200 a day? So how is somebody like that going to explain his or herself? And I said, does the company have to give you something? Bet you say, are they illegal?
Yeah, so I mean, so Bitcoin is illegal, right? They are completely legal. And say bank na against kind of ecohono. Say if we cash up a company very reputable. Now cash out for no at the end of every year, I say committee man form one. It say even though say all turn now, Ebeka say be in total no, we make is say. And it's say now make and I say uchama, government, for taxes. So I say committee was maybe be I would make it. We can also talk about that be personally. So maybe I discuss public as well. But there are ways for you to report taxes. And because of signing up with Cash App with your social, the government will know so much. So ABS can also, they'll not flag you or something like that. But say we will tell you now we are wanted to work. Now, when to be sure say what you want taxes are, they can make you pay, and that's a much natural can be so.
But that's an amateur in chambers.
That's a simple question. But any other questions, Ohana, about the discussion? I know, sir, but you'll be a friend of Van or coming off mute. You said, oh, question. So, sir. I think we're still muted.
Ben, ACC in Hono. I am a say, yang your age group, no, you're investment prone. Yam fasa entity eti ehunso ewo yemu. Ye age group no ye suspicious pa about say even me research aname ye no. Ye age group no cry no to say I you can say electronic money is now bad. It takes time pass a age group no be to me just to cast it. Me trusty.
Yeah.
Me kai say me ba no hia bibi pa da pa de ne tum me say me phantom say me de tum no mfam kakra wa na me ye ne. Enti enye baakofo. Enti ehonso no we need motivation.
Yeah.
Enti ne me pese me tax money say young people no anyone more crime will be to me and recommend say we can deliver this and I said that and I think that with what you are doing is related. And you people can help us a lot. And you must see no crown, saving crown, say divine service time crown we can give because I won't say your church you to me my help for no my talk. You to me say. Adventist church is versatile. A church, you touch it, a holistic, you touch it the whole life. And to be beyond here, as long as it's helping. And Nyame say, I wish you say you prosper. And so move to me, I research into a generational fears near dear no how generations, some are tilted to the current economy near dear growth no how others are not, and also I think that a bit me about older generation, one who said there are opportunities into way a part of it, but there are opportunities that they say in Tadieto, a nipan time cost of you on.
Yeah.
Most of the young people, they shop on many young man be doing come or say, oh, train, hold on, Pastor, train, me say Aden or say. A delivery na door na no aduane oni e de command well we di dwa enye se aduane se oto adio market se wo akọ shop a ko to ne ho ne ma ne ade no wa shop ne de abre no because or say time and I'm say why do you do that or say oh pastor you don't know time is money 80 time now me de cost ho no me to me investing in something richer
yeah
until more no mo thinking the kind of generation and mo PFE mono aboa mona I think that we are under utilizing your age group in the church because you are equipped and we look at you say more young the hana Ghana for your radie oh we no nkola but anima munim no generational wise ni yenimbi. And I think it's about time say you recognize this idea no your mom who kwan na mo to me play role a bit blended and my church ni nyina no grow together. Obi abeye adwuma wa ha obekọ pension na no soon because obekọ pensioner ebia or your living ebia or your home care say sika no ɔbɛkɔ pension a ebi a sika he ne yɛde bɛma no but ebi a nneɛma sei nom no ebetumi aboa yɛn ɛma yɛn so yɛtumi asave sika a yɛ ayɛmhyehyɛ ne ho nneɛma no yeah.
I think so. We should start question, Mr. Victor, or say, so what Canada, wait me invest in New York Stock Exchange, and if so, how? Yeah, so the question, the answer is about how much I invested. Oh, Musa, so even abroad, Crampa, or Ghana, and so to be invested or USC. Into the answer over go through a broker, or be allowed with me invested or USSI. I'm sure say be a Vanguard and I say be a Robin Hood, ne TD Ameritrade. I'm going to brokers out with me about why invested or US stock market. And I can't answer what most of the all. So if you don't want to invest for USDR, you can also invest in the Canadian Stock Exchange. I hope so that answer your question, Mr. Victor. I think that Auntie Olivia, Miss Olivia, mistake there. Who's up there on the side?
I'm semi late cafe and maybe see a change. My name who's so big. Now, me, this I say, to see us, so if you'll be per se, to see a no casim print prayer, no be per se, or two son among bina or invest here, a din, a Uber company, bena, very recommend them, must say.
I think it's a very good question. Usually, I don't advise that first time I will invest in a single company because I saw your research, right? Now who company know the balance sheets, the vision, etc. But me very biased towards tech companies, because seeing a shot, technology in the future. So power show home, like what do you use the most part at home? I'm sure if we do a quick survey, most people on this line have an iPhone or have a MacBook, and I said beside. So those companies, they'll be here for a long term. So it's always good to invest in those companies, And also a journey, Walmart, Kroger's, Amazon, those people, they'll always be there to provide food. Those are also good companies for you to invest in. In China, usually just look at your own spending patterns, Let's share companies where they auto a journal and I say, we use some most of the time, those companies tend to succeed in the long run. And I also say try to buy ETFs because ETFs multiple companies in one. In terms of less risky. And so more references can home. And our second option is Uber go through a broker because we sort of talk now broker everything So for example, things that Auntie first mentioned about Cash App, and I say be a Robin Hood, and I say be a Vanguard, etc. In as with me about what me I invested so in any so I would say it's me about a question.
I me patronti mo to me record idea amaye. Mr. Mansia.
Yes, Pastor, it's recorded.
Thank you. Enti mo edit na mo fa meto ho na church no bia na announce no bia want to me ama enumere no can revisit it. Obi so buy na se niema no e corner the person can revisit it and review. Okay.
Yeah, and I mean, me also open to just maybe talk to people one-on-one, and so I'm kind of in charge you get physical, but idea I think that you're gonna free free and say my neighborhood so you can also feel free to call me say be question went me musa and I say be or who additional in episode of private things so meeting so no work as our home aka home.
Oh.
If I just will be kasa and a question for her.
The patch of better nenya or number no na AJ say no kasa.
Pacho, I think so our phone so but my number here 347 350 4165 347 350 4165. anabacho wo Zoom so a ma type or chat nim no so obetimi ehu. I know sir we are out of time, but if you have 1 minute say be any last questions be more be which we are come yes I if you want pay na
yeah me pesa me kase Sunday adisua no mon kanchira sorry mano na say ne pese ye no na ye vibrant enti yeah momra na every week be abe exciting papa enti yeah momra bi o honso a yenso ye be ya waresem niema bebre enti pese ye srem se yeah momra na such a delivery onipa ne the content say ba content awa brepa okay yeah that was it say numere no I think say nipa 22 and a buy nyame shiramo o my sell the news na essence here the better website to give yourself like a week or so na kokoshe and I say YouTube YouTube I'm say see a crowd but we will try to edit it na Sunday to hope you so nya e be improve pa ntia damase next week utitna ni kese bi nso na ba be kasa akire ye and that one too is another important one ntia mon kanchiro bia na onto memra bi damase.
Okay, there's a question being what the any Mr. na pastor be a bit of na what point that
Okay, mama ye mompaye yehoa ye nyankopon ye da wasese ye mu no wa diversify adesua na uma ebi asua adehodo ya baby o ha ensantumi nye no enan etumi ye bi o ha non tumi nye no aso etumi ye yehoa ye da wase sankyerkyere ya odi amaye so ababi ewo mu fankanyan ebre yen ma yemfa ebi ento akire ye na nanom kra no no mo kyekere boa bi no de asie ebi kra de gold ko hye nwuram no mo de etu amna no mo de ahyase ye no mo ahye honso enti ase omo no wo saa ne ma ihu nyansa chen ye ebi nso de wo musika do kokofuo ya anyese wodo banchene bode kokofuo ti da bia na otwa na wote na onya aduane di de ware ebi dum no wo de bo wo mo bra ena obra na sesa kokofuo ntumi nya hwe yenso ye yakwantufo rade ya bresa na susika no ye nya bi pa wo chew kire ye kwan no na wo manso enya bi ya ye nyina no ye ni beje na ne enti a wo soma wo ikromu no ho so aba mfaso wo de amaye ye de ye nua Joseph ye de ne hya wonsa rade mesra wo hira e de amano to aso bo a ye mai koso aka wo mo ho na fa wo mo ye adwuma kese e wo wasafo mu ehira kan udin anwumrei se watie ye sa ye wo gidie se ne ye tie no ebeso aba pa ewo Yesu Kristo din mu amen.
amen.
Yo and I Auntie Olivia Nabi pacho kan Miss Panama ye